Can you talk us through like some of the criticisms that you've received along the way, and also like how that helped grow your brand? Because from what I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I'd love to hear kind of the timeline chronologically. That Vice piece really like actually helped propel you in a lot of ways to a lot of other different opportunities. So can you just walk us through that kind of timeline from 2018 till now, and then kind of a couple of those things like the Vice thing and some of the other outside pressures that you've had that have been negative.
Yeah, I appreciate all of your kind supportive words, Travis, kind of a acknowledgement. And I think something else that is a bit of a disservice that people want. Just to go back to that for just one quick second, I think people want the human in the room. I'm still struck to this day as I share aspects of my own struggles that continue to this day. The humanity in me, I met with, oftentimes in my membership, just such relief when I share a little difficult moment I had this morning or last week or whatever it might be. And there's just such relief that, oh my gosh, you still struggle too. And I think in the field, we do a disservice with, and I understand the clinical idea of being this blank slate, of having these, like you're saying, contained hours where time is up and now it's a structured session and until next week and we could talk about it then. And I also understand the humanity. And I think that largely people do want to feel less alone in their struggles. I have heard from so many clients who won't even share what's really going on with therapists, of no fault of the therapist, because it's shameful, because you do have, and you project this idea that, oh, I can't share with this perfect human who has no issues in their life what's really happening with me. And I think that's a large disservice. So, one of the aspects of the work that I do and of my journey was sharing the continued struggles that I have. And I think that's the relief that is offered there. And, when I see articles like the Vice article, however long ago that came out on, and when I hear the criticism, I think, not only does some of it come from just outright misinterpretations, of statements that I have not made, of, words that have not come out of my mouth, mainly around like this idea. While I do talk about empowering people with tools to be this conscious, active participant in their journey, never once have I offered the opportunity or suggested that people don't get support if they have access and means to
Right.
it.
Right.
And again, when I see some of these criticism things, it's very adamantly, it's being, suggested that I've said otherwise. And that's just largely not the case. And then I think another reality that applies to all of us is we're all humans interpreting people's messages, creating stories of what we think they mean based on, again, this entire conversation you and I've been having, what we've interpreted from the past. So I think some amount of criticism is to be expected, because we're not always going to, be perceived the same way, because we're not objective creatures. We're all subjectifying the reality around us. So when things like that come out, while on one hand I can say it's, it's par for the course, of course, there it is. There is the other hand that, while whether or not it propelled me or not, I'm not actually sure. I do think that, articles like that, while, sometimes people can react very negatively to the content should they believe it and, unfollow or do all the things, just as equally people can be attracted to it, can come over. So it could have, kind of drawn people my way. I would be lying, however, if I said that it's just so easy to allow those things to roll off my back. I'm still a human that
Yeah.
very much, right, feels threatened by this criticism, wants to yell out how they're wrong, how they're misinterpreting, or even just take my own advice of, oh, just let it be over there. You're just being
Yeah.
misinterpreted. Keep your time, attention, and focus here. And that's not the case. Even going back to something you beautifully said earlier, when I'm not eating well, when I'm not sleeping well, when I'm stressed out and I have a lot on my mind, it's very easy for me to give that criticism more weight, even to seek it out, to be reminded of all this terrible crap out there about myself
Yeah.
in those moments. So, seeing it, I don't know the exact numbers of how it helped, how it didn't help. What I do know is when those things happen, I have that whole variant, all those various different responses. I can hold space for misinterpretation. I can hold space for just my ideas not being aligned with someone else's beliefs, their framework, their way of being. And I can hold space for the reality that I'm a human who can be impacted, hurt, and dysregulated when I see those things. And then again, being the conscious participant, it's my choice. I can choose how much I engage. I can choose how much attention I give it. I can choose the reframe of, okay, well, some people might have, taken it negatively, and I could see all of the people who've taken it positively, but I get to choose how it is I interact with the reality that is there. And I'm anticipating it will probably always be there to some extent.